Imagine living in a vertical prison, where your only source of food is from a platform that goes from level to level, so basically you and your cellmate are eating leftovers from the cell above you, and every month you move to a higher or lower level. Now imagine being on the last level, where there's no food left. Do you turn on your cellmate, or wait until your cellmate turns on you? That is the life of someone who lives in the pit. They call this prison a vertical self-management center, and the people come there by their own choice to get a degree for more money. Each level has 2 prisoners. Level 0 lowers a tray full of carefully prepared food, which stops at each level for 2 minutes during the whole day. Each floor consumes the leftovers from the people on the upper levels. Each inmate arrives at the pit with only one personal object to choose from the outer world. If someone retains food after the platform leaves, then the level will either heat up and burn them or go cold and freeze them to death. Each person is inserted randomly at a level for a month, then 1 time per month, all inmates are put asleep using gas and the guards change their levels at random. The people in the upper levels eat more, the ones in the middle levels eat the rest of the food that's left, while those in the lower levels don't eat after the platform arrives empty. There are also some people who cannot bear these rules and finally jump into the pit, crashing at the lower levels to be eaten by the savage inmates. The movie starts in a huge kitchen, where a gourmet meal is expertly and neatly prepared by some professional chefs. This looks like a special dinner preparation for special people. An elderly supervisor walks through this massive kitchen, inspecting and approving various delicious dishes as he goes. Then a narration starts explaining that there are 3 types of people, the ones above, the ones below, and the ones who fall. The scene shifts showing a concrete number 0, where a chef puts another plate on the beautifully decorated food table. The table starts to move down. The people are shown grabbing food from the platform barbarically. A middle-aged man named Goreng awakens in a concrete prison cell and wonders where he is. An older man named Trimagasi tells him that they are on level 48, and that they are in the pit. Goreng rises from his bed and looks through a rectangular opening in the floor of their cell. He sees a seemingly endless repetition of identical cells both below and above their own. When Goreng asks Trimagasi how the pit works, Trimagasi tells him that there are 2 people on every level of the pit. The inmates are knocked out and moved to a different level every month. Goreng is told that food is key in this prison. Goreng asks him how many levels are below them, and Trimagasi says there are not many, but that soon there will be fewer. Goreng calls out to the ones below them, but Trimagasi instructs him not to, and says that the ones above won't answer either. Trimagasi says he has been in the pit for many months, and they will only stay at level 48 for exactly 1 month. Suddenly the red light went off and the green one turned on. Now they see a platform containing scraps of food descend into their cell through a hole in the middle of it. Trimagasi begins gorging on the food while Goreng remains silent and looks at it in disgust. He refuses to eat, thinking of how many others have already eaten from it. When Trimagasi finds a leftover bottle of wine, he thinks that there must be some Muslims on the above levels who do not drink. Eventually, Goreng grabs an intact apple off the table and puts it in his pocket to eat later. As the table begins descending to the cell below theirs, Trimagasi spits on the food. After the table fully descends to the next level, the temperature of the cell starts rising. Trimagasi explains that the food only belongs to them when the table is on their floor. When the tray leaves, all the food must be left with it too. As punishment for keeping the apple, the guards have turned up the heat. Goreng throws the apple back, and the temperature returns to normal. Now, Goreng offers to tell Trimagasi why he is in the pit if Trimagasi does the same. When he speaks, it turns out that Goreng volunteered to be in the pit for 6 months in exchange for receiving an accredited diploma. He explains that he plans on quitting smoking, and the administration let him take only 1 item with him in the pit, so he brought a copy of a fancy book to read here. Trimagasi reveals that he is spending a year in the pit, offended at the fact that he is not receiving any degree. Trimagasi eventually tells his story to him. He starts telling that he got furious one day over a trivial matter of seeing an ad for a knife sharpener on the TV, and threw his TV out the window in his frustration. The TV killed a person standing outside his apartment. Goreng asks him why he is not sorry for killing a person in the street. He appears to show no remorse for this on account that the man was an illegal immigrant, and therefore shouldn't have been there in the first place. The authority gave him the choice between a mental institution and the pit. So he chose to be in the pit rather than in a mental institution, and brought a knife with him. Now Goreng asks him how many levels there are exactly. Trimagasi says that he does not know the number of levels, but that there are certainly at least 132. He said he has previously stayed on level 132 and confirmed that no food makes it down that far. Goreng doesn't believe Trimagasi could have survived for a month without food, But Trimagasi claims he was still able to eat even when there was no food on the platform. This frustrates Goreng. He yells downward to the other inmates to conserve food. Trimagasi urinates on those below, saying that they will also do the same when they are placed to a level lower than them. In the next scene, suddenly a body falls through the hole when Goreng was reading his book. This horrified Goreng, but nothing happened to Trimagasi. Goreng yells to the other cells, asking why nobody is reacting to the dead body. No one responds to him. Trimagasi explains that many people above commit suicide because of the condemnation of their souls to them on their previous actions in the pit. Or some people push their cellmates sometimes. He says that the people survive on the lower levels by cannibalizing the corpses that fell from above. The platform descends in the middle of their talks. They see a bruised and wounded woman on the platform. While Goreng is concerned for her, Trimagasi explains that this woman is Miharu and is trying to find her young child, who is allegedly held somewhere therein. He says that she kills her cellmate every month, so that she may have a higher chance of being paired with her son during the next month's cell rotation, and that the body that fell earlier was likely Miharu's cellmate, having been pushed by her. She descends on the platform as far as she can go in search of her child. When the table descends to level 49, the inmates there attempt to assault her. Goreng yells at them to stop. But Miharu defends herself and continues her descent. After many days, Goreng becomes less civil and more like Trimagasi. They both become friends on the following days of the month. In the next scene, 1 month has passed and they have gone further down to the level of 171. Goreng wakes up and finds himself tied down to the bed with Trimagasi standing over him with his knife. People are screaming upon discovering where they are, and several commit suicide by jumping down the hole. Trimagasi plans to fast for as long as he can and slowly cannibalize Goreng. When Goreng calls Trimagasi a murderer, he says it is the ones above them that have caused this. When the platform descends, not even bones remain on the table for them to eat. After some time, Trimagasi begins cutting the flesh of Goreng's leg. Before Trimagasi can complete this, the platform arrives with Miharu on it. She wounds Trimagasi and frees Goreng. Now freed, Goreng takes out Trimagasi. Goreng begins to hallucinate conversations with Trimagasi and barely survives to the end of the month. In the next scene, Goreng wakes up in cell number 33. He has a new cellmate named Imogiri, who has a dog with her. Imogiri worked for the administration that runs the pit before voluntarily coming there. Goreng tells her that people die in the pit every day and that they should stop this program. First she corrects him, saying that it is not the pit for the administration, they call it Vertical Self-Management Center. He asks her how many levels are there? She says that there are 200 levels, and that if everyone ate only what they needed, there would be enough food to reach the bottom. If the people in the center can sacrifice for each other, the administration will use that success to convince the people outside to do the same. As the table descends, Imogiri asks the inmates below to only eat what they need and show solidarity for the people below, but they ignore her. One day, Miharu is found miserably ill on the table. The pair treat her, but when Miharu awakens, she destroys Imogiri's dog. As Miharu descends, Imogiri says that Miharu voluntarily entered the pit with no child in exchange for help becoming the Asian Marilyn Monroe. After some time, Goreng wakes up in the 202nd cell. He gets horrified to discover that many more cells still exist below them. He discovers that Imogiri has died of her own choice. She assumed there were only 200 levels, but she realizes that she had the wrong information despite working for the administration. Goreng has no food and tries to sustain himself by eating pages from his book, but eventually he gives in to eating what is left of imagery. The next month starts, and he wakes up on level 6 with a man named Bharat. Bharat has a rope with him and asks those above to help him climb to the top and out of the pit. He has faith in humanity and rises to the level above, trusting in them. The prisoners above mock him and defecate on him. Bharat drops his rope down and nearly falls into the hole himself, but Goreng saves him. Goreng comes up with a plan in his mind. He explains to Bharat that they should descend with the platform, and hand out food at each level. He tells him that if the food makes it to the bottom, it will have beaten the system. Goreng estimates that there are about 250 levels altogether. If they fail, they can ride the platform back up. Bharat is initially reluctant to do so but agrees to the plan later. The next moment they begin their descent, they beat the other inmates back. They decide that they will go down 50 floors and start handing out food only from the 51st floor, saying that the first 50 levels get to eat every day. They reach a certain level and meet a man in the wheelchair that Bharat knows. In the previous months, Bharat has shared a level with this man. He refers to him as a wise man. He tells them that civility and discussion are more effective than violence. then says that their quest to break the system will be meaningless if the administration does not realize what they have done. The wise man suggests that the pair must make sure that at least one delicious dish is sent back up the platform, untouched and uneaten. That untouched dish will serve as a message to the administration that the pit has been conquered. They choose a panna cotta to be returned untouched and clean. The two passionately guard the panna cotta, making sure it remains untouched, and start rationing food once they reach level 51, attacking prisoners who try to take more than what they are allotted. The pair remains successful in forcing the prisoners to conserve food as they descend. They reach a floor where Miharu is being attacked by two particularly vicious inmates. Goreng and Bharat attack and destroy the vicious inmates, but not without suffering grievous wounds themselves. Miharu dies from her wounds. They continue to descend and find people dead or insane on the lower levels. The platform stops at level 333, which they think is the final level. At that level, they were surprised to find Miharu's child. The pair get off the platform but are shocked to see it descend again. They give the panna cotta to the child and sleep. Goreng awakens in the middle of the night and finds Bharat dead from his injuries. In the morning, the platform reaches their level that day with no food. Goreng pulls the child onto the platform. The platform finally descends to the very bottom of the pit, where they can hardly see the light. At the bottom, Goreng again encounters the spirit of Trimagasi, who says that Goreng's journey has come to an end. Trimagasi says that the child is the true message that must be sent back up to the administration. Although Goreng wants to stay with the child, he gets off the platform when Trimagasi says that the child must rise alone. The movie ends when the platform begins ascending the top with the child on it. Trimagasi assures Goreng that the child will succeed in delivering the message to the administration, and Goreng smiles.